Joining me today is the woman I was telling you about earlier. I'm so excited to have her on the show. She's amazing. She's written a book, several books, quite frankly. She's a prolific writer. And she's also serving on the board of directors with me on Women for Trump. So excited to have her on. Mica Mosbacher, thanks for joining the show today. I appreciate it. How are you?
Oh, I am great. Currently enjoying Texas and celebrating this great economy.
I know.
How about the NASDAQ hitting 9,000 for the first time?
Mica, this is so exciting. First of all, let me apologize to you. I have never had to do a show without a producer, but it's the holiday season and it's been rough, and I think I made a mistake and I apologize. So even if you want to stay over a little bit longer, we'll do that. I want to make up for that because I was so excited.
No worries.
Oh, you're so sweet. You know, I know that we were all on the same board of directors, advisory board for Women for Trump, and that we were in Philadelphia together. But, you know, the more I got to know you through social media and online and reading through your one book, it's called The Hurricane Factor, Stormside Patriots, One Voice, One Nation, One God. And that was one of the things that I think just endeared you to me because I love your heart. And, you know, when no matter how much we may disagree on campaigns or policies or candidates, there is one thing that we can all agree on is we can put all of that aside to help our fellow citizens. We care about our fellow Americans, and it's been demonstrated over and over and over again. If there's a national disaster, if there's a problem in a community, we roll up our collective sleeves and we get it done. We don't stop first and ask, wait a minute, are you a Democrat? Are you a Republican? No, that is not our first question. Our first question is, what can we do to help? And your book really highlights that, doesn't it?
Well, and that's the exact definition of what the hurricane factor is that unhesitatingly, for example, after the hurricane in 2017 in Houston, Texas, Harvey, neighbors without hesitation helped other neighbors. It had the largest record rainfall in the history ever recorded in the U.S., and it was enough to fill 85,000 stadiums or Astrodomes.
Wow.
And the rivers turned into streets, and the freeways, streets turned into rivers, and freeways were completely jammed up, and cars were stuck, and people were stuck in the cars. And it was just amazing how neighbor and stranger jumped into a boat if they owned one. They did anything they could to rescue fellow residents, and signed up and volunteered at the George R. Brown Convention Center, which became the Red Cross Shelter, one of two in Houston. In fact, what inspired me to write the book is I had come in to volunteer to help serve food at the Red Cross Shelter.
Oh, that's
and
great.
I saw war-weary individuals coming in, sleep-deprived of all ages, and they were so kind to one another and extraordinarily appreciative of those volunteers who were serving them, and just seemed so grateful just to have a cot and a warm, safe place to sleep. And it really did inspire me to write something positive, especially, you know, as we said, this is such a polarized environment right now, and I know during the holidays many families tried to avoid politics, or there were strong words in certain families, and I wanted to bring out something positive that really is one of our endearing qualities as Americans.
You know, and that's what I loved about you, and it is so important. You know, after Florida suffered so greatly after the hurricane, I started an organization called Meeting in the Middle, and I worked with and brought in Democrats and Republicans alike, and we started this organization, and what we do is we raise money together, and we are political. We are known politically in our communities in our state as Democrats, Republicans, but I wanted to show that we could put aside policy or politics and actually perform together and in meaningful ways. And we have. And that's precisely what we've done. We've raised money. Anytime there's a natural disaster, we've raised money. We've held opportunities for people to bring in supplies or money for those counties and states that are suffering. And I have to tell you, it was very uplifting. And Mica, I know that you know this, because deep down, we all do care about one another. We really do. And even though we have somehow lost that art of civil discourse, we haven't lost that heart, that humanity that can and will bring us together.
No, and to your point, Republicans worked with Democrats both in Florida and in Texas for the greater good, and came together and with President Trump's leadership and passed the hurricane relief bill, and it showed that they had the ability to set aside policy differences and do the right thing for the American people.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk a little bit about how women have done under this administration, the Trump administration. Here's what I love about our president, Mica, and he's done this over and over again. When he spoke to the black community back in August of 2016, he was speaking at a rally right outside of Lansing, Michigan. And he had a moment where I believe he went off script, and he just, he talked to the black community. He said, listen, he goes, give me a chance. What the hell do you have to lose? And Newt Gingrich said of the time and of that conversation that it was probably one of the most genuine conversations that a candidate had with a group of people, a block of voters. And when I think about that, Mica, I think that our president has had genuine conversations with so many of us. You and I know, as women who support this president, that he has had genuine conversations with us. The Hispanic community, there are people, we have the Hispanics for Trump, Hispanic women for Trump. We have black voices. We've got so many groups now that are saying, yeah, he's having genuine conversations with us, and we appreciate that. Not only the conversation, but the outcomes of those conversations. We have seen great things with the job numbers. We've seen how things have changed drastically in the last 3 years to benefit people in certain communities. I just really appreciate him for that, don't you?
I think he's extremely relatable. And if you look at the slate of Democratic candidates, they seem to be having trouble really relating, and people are not coalescing behind one candidate. I mean, we may have a brokered convention, and here you have this president who's very human, and he has the ability, especially when he goes off script, to not only be entertaining, but women have reacted to the fact that he's kept his promises.
Yes.
And what's been important to women, I always say women are not single-issue voters.
No, we're not.
National security is important to women. Immigration reform, obviously jobs and feeding their families, but also the record tax credit that they received, allowing for many families to have a take-home credit of $2,000 or under,
yes,
which makes a big difference. It's not just peanuts, as I believe Nancy Pelosi referred to the tax credit as. A lot of people live paycheck to paycheck, and I think that President Trump really has his finger on that pulse. They call him the billionaire working class president.
It's a phenomenon. It really is, Mica, when you bring that up, because here is a man that you would think people would reject, maybe lower class, middle class, blue collar, who knows, even white collar, that people might reject because of his wealth, and yet they embrace him because they're not. Somehow he has been able, and to me it is a phenomenon, he has been able to relate to every person, no matter your social economic class. He is relatable. They don't see him first as a billionaire. And I do believe they look at him as a man who just wants to help them, who just wants to make things even better. And I love that he is not a politician. So does he say things sometimes and people go, oh, I wish he didn't say that? Maybe he does. Maybe he does, but I'll tell you what. I think that we can say, look at his heart, because over and over again, like you said, he has made promises and he made right on those promises. And there's one thing that women appreciate is a man that keeps his promises, and he has. And I'll tell you something else. He is not an ideologue, and it baffles me to no end how people can't just at least be honest about that. He's not. He was a Democrat once. He's a Republican. He is a man who looked at this country and said, you know what? I think I can do some things that might actually restore some liberties, that might actually restore some wealth. I'd like to give this a go. I really believe that was his full intent, and that is precisely what he has done for us.
Well, and I think it's obvious he gave up a life of luxury.
Yes.
And he works practically 24/7. He's a phenomenon. He doesn't sleep. He's tweeting at 5 a.m. and he, of course, uses social media and has completely transformed the presidency in terms of how he relates to people.
You know what? I have to say, I'm so pleased, and I honestly, if we did this much and accomplished this much as a nation, I mean, I was just talking earlier about the amount of money that has been repatriated back to the United States through businesses because regulations. I mean, $1 trillion back to the U.S. because of the Trump tax cuts. Okay, that's not me talking. That's not the RNC. That's the Commerce Department. Okay, they said it. You know, and the fact that we can repatriate that much money back because he understands what it takes to run a country, to keep our businesses healthy, I love it. I can't wait for the next 4 years. I can't.
Well, on the USMCA trade deal, for example, the NAFTA replacement was a huge win for the president. And we'll bring manufacturing jobs back to the U.S.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's staggering what he's accomplished. You know, we're putting up with this impeachment sham, which I think many Americans see through. Obviously, most individuals have made up their mind one way or the other, so we're very divided on that topic. But I think that Democrats were seeking after the Mueller report some way to impact his presidency. I think they would have impeached him for jaywalking, and I think a lot of voters see through that. You know, the RNC raised over $126 million.
Yes.
Due to precisely this, because
exactly.
It's energizing voters.
You know, it's astounding. It really is. And I just want to, you know what, do you want to hang on for a couple of minutes through the break and stay with me for a little bit? Or do you have to go? Let's do that, because I'd like to talk a little bit. I love getting women's perspective on things, and honestly, I would love to talk about the impeachment scam. So let's do that. We're talking to Mica Mosbacher, and Mica, can you just give out your website real quick and your social media? I have like 30 seconds here. I do. Go ahead.
Yeah, MicaMosbacher.com. Or Mica_Mosbacher is my Twitter handle.
Okay, it's Mosbacher. I just want to get that out there. Got to go. Hold on. Okay. Hold on through the break, Mica. We'll come right back with you, okay? We'll be right back with more right after this. All right, always interesting. My guest is a political strategist and author of Racing Forward, Faith, Love, and Triumph Over Loss, because she has experienced loss in her life, and many of us have. And I'm going to have her on another time, and we're going to talk about that. And also the book that we refer to today, The Hurricane Factor, Stormside Patriots, One Voice, One Nation, One God. And look, she has held national roles in 5 presidential campaigns. She's a senior advisor of the 2020 Trump campaign. She's a frequent guest on Fox News, Fox Business, BBC World News. I love this lady, and I'll tell you what. I think, Mica, if you lived down the street from me, we would have coffee several days a week, just to chat.
Oh, we would be BFFs.
We would be. I just love your heart. I love where you're coming from, and I appreciate you so much. So, you know, you and I were just starting to talk a little bit about impeachment before the break, and thank you so much for hanging in there with me, because I do want to follow through, just because I think it's an important subject and topic to discuss. During the break, I said to Ben, aren't you worried, Ben, because as a socialist, I guess I'm assuming that you vote as a Democrat, Ben. Yes, he does. And as a Democrat, you now need to be worried, because if we can send articles of impeachment to the Senate that have no legal merit, that are not constitutional, then you must be concerned, because that means that any majority in the House now, they have set a precedent, and now going forward, any majority, if they decide they don't like the president, they can get rid of them. And Mica, our founding fathers, some of the most brilliant minds in history, people that came from tyranny, that understood the risks of tyranny and of not having a certain document that protects the people from tyranny, from a monarchy, formed and drafted this Constitution. And one of the things that they were most concerned about, Hamilton specifically, was that if you had a majority, if you did not meet constitutional standards, articles of impeachment should fail. They should fail. They should never go any further. They shouldn't even go to the Senate. That this is absolutely wrong. And he understood that any majority then could do that. And he saw the risks in that, as did the rest of our founding fathers. And that is a great concern, isn't it?
Absolutely, because it's been weaponized in the House. And it's important to look back at the Clinton impeachment in 1989. There was bipartisan support.
Right.
And I have never seen Republicans more united. We never had one individual that defected. And even Will Hurd, who is from Texas, a congressman,
yes,
the only African-American congressman, he is former CIA, an independent thinker, and he did not find crimes or violations of statutes. He saw no evidence indicating that the president did anything wrong.
Exactly. And so I feel like, Mica, that we are facing a dilemma right now, or at least the Senate is. I mean, because if you hear this case, if you try it, then you're giving validity to something that has none. It has absolutely no validity, no legal merit, and yet at the same time, if they don't, then the accusations would fly that that this is because they're the majority in the Senate, the Republicans, and they're protecting this president. It's I wouldn't want to be serving right now. I would not want to be in the Senate right now, because I think there's a tough decision that has to be made, and I thought it was interesting because. Kim Strassel? I'm trying to think. She said this is like a rolling impeachment too. When you consider, Mica, now they haven't turned over those articles to the Senate. Now, I mean, there's a chance or an opportunity that the House could continue to add to the articles. That, I mean, exactly. She's absolutely right. This is like a rolling impeachment. This is astounding to me. It really is.
No, they're playing political games. And it also should be said, remember, Nancy Pelosi originally did not want to pursue impeachment in the House. She said she would not do so without a bipartisan support.
Right.
And she caved to the radical left.
Yep, you're right.
And, I mean, the Democrats have been chameleons on a strobe light with their messaging. I mean, they started with quid pro quo. That didn't seem to be working. And so then they changed their messaging again. And they, finally narrowed it down to what? 2 impeachment articles, which President Trump calls impeachment light. I agree with him. Obstruction of justice, what is that? And it really is, the Democrats are in search of a crime.
You know what? They are and have been. What's interesting, though, and I feel a little better knowing this, is that while this was going on towards the end, in fact, the president had then 56% of the American voters. Now, that goes beyond party lines, obviously. 56% of American voters just did not feel that this was correct, that this should be pursued, the impeachment. So I think people are growing tired. I had Bo Snerdley on the show the other day. I love him. He started his own PAC, blacks who want to make America great again. And he said that his mom is a Democrat, lifelong Democrat, and still a Democrat, probably will vote Democrat, but she said she was sick of what they were doing and just leave the president alone. Because, Mica, let's be honest, there have been, obviously, half the country was not happy when a Democrat won the presidential election. But, you just kind of wait it out. and you make certain commitments to working with the party, your party of choice, and working harder the next time to get people out, to get the vote out, to get people registered. You accept it, and you have to honor that position. I mean, he is the president. He's the president. And yet they have not allowed him, first, to do some even greater things than he's done already. And secondly, the media doesn't focus on all of the wonderful things that have happened. God forbid they should talk about the things that he has accomplished during his time in the presidency.
Well, we talked about the roaring economy. And as I always say to voters, is your life better under President Trump? And if it's a little bit better, then why change horses in midstream, so to speak? And the economy is on fire. That is truly important to people who, as I said, are living paycheck to paycheck and very concerned about kitchen table issues. And I also think with this impeachment, people would rather watch reruns of soap operas than keeping up with Kardashians.
Hey, that's an idea. Maybe I could be doing that. But honestly,
it is like a reality show.
It is actually. It is, unfortunately. But when you look at the job growth numbers again that came up for last week, the one phrase that we have heard over and over again of late, and that is exceeds expectations. Exceeds expectations. The economy is doing well. That means that our family members are doing well, our neighbors are doing well, our coworkers are doing well. I mean, what did I just read the other day about some of the lowest earners have seen the highest increase in their wages? Great. I am so happy for that. And we should all be happy about that because those are people that we love. It affects actual real people in our lives.
Absolutely. And what accomplishments can the Dems point to? What have they accomplished?
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line.
And they've held up.
It's been a Mueller witch hunt the public had to live through for 2 years.
Right.
Cost $35 million at least for taxpayers. And the other important thing that I think is being ignored by the mainstream media, Rose, is the Inspector General report on the Department of Justice and the FBI.
Yep. You're absolutely right about that. And that's the thing, the focus, and maybe that's part of the plan, the overall strategy, but the focus has been so far on fake Russia collusion, fake impeachment, fake Ukrainian. I mean, that's Ben and I were having that discussion. Ben, we're going to have that discussion on the air. But look, the focus has been on all of that, and we haven't focused on, and because of that, what else have they held us back from accomplishing? Just think how much more could have been done. But I'm pleased already with this administration's accomplishments. They have, again, I'll use the same words that have been used over and over again, exceeded expectations. Exceeded expectations.
Well, and immigration reform, for example, our immigration system's been broken for decades. And we have a real opportunity to fix the catch and release loopholes in the law. But the Dems won't work with Republicans. However, President Trump is keeping his promises. He is building the wall along the southern border. And that's despite all the obstacles that he faces. In this do-nothing Congress, as I love to call it.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I don't know who else could have withstood all of the criticism, all of the resistance, all of the media blackouts, of his accomplishments. I don't know who else could have survived this, who could have withstood it all better or as long as he has. God bless him. I wouldn't want to be doing it. I don't know if I could handle it, but he has. And I do believe that he's the right man for this time. I really do, and I'm very grateful.
Do too.
Yeah.
I'm a person of faith, and I often think of him as the Cyrus in the Bible.
Oh, interesting. I like that.
A man chosen for this time.
Yes.
And not a perfect person, but the perfect man for this time.
Well, I had earlier on a very dear friend of mine, Pastor C.L. Bryant, and he is now with Black Voices. That's another coalition that's been established because they feel that there's much to say about what he's done for the Black community. But anyway, he was on, and we were talking about imperfect people. Look, we are all imperfect, and I, too, am a Christian, and we're all imperfect. But God has used, all throughout history, imperfect people. people. And that's okay. I get that. But if we were all honest with each other or ourselves, I think we would find that we were all imperfect in one way or another.
Well, absolutely. And it's very interesting that the evangelical community coalesced around the president this week after the op-ed.
Yes.
In the
Christianity Today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. They did. Because you know what?
Go
ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I was going to say, and one of the reasons that I heard over and over and over was he was the most pro-life president we've ever had.
I mean, what the heck?
And that,
you're a Christian.
and the Supreme Court justices, the conservative Supreme Court justices. And you know, those issues are extraordinarily important to Christians.
They really are, sweetie. Mica Mosbacher, I just want to mention one more time. Can you just give out your social media and your website real quick, and then we have to go to break?
Mica Mosbacher, MOSBACHER.com.
You know, thank you for being with me and for staying, because I enjoyed talking to you. I'm going to have you back again. And, hey, Happy New Year to you, my friend. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. God bless. We'll be back right after this.